Welcome to the Spotlight on Media to Africa. Today we have as an invited guest of honor His Royal Majesty Chief Elufa, John Elufa Manga Williams of the Limbe Chiefdom. Selected by his people and approved by Prime Ministerial Order number 004 of January 13, 2022. His Royal Majesty Chief John Elufa Manga Williams is first-class paramount ruler of the Limbe Chiefdom. The Kenya, the great warrior, as the new paramount ruler is called, ascended to the throne that has been vacant for almost 17 years in an elaborate coronation ceremony that lasted 5 days from June the 8th to June the 12th in 2022, becoming the third paramount ruler of Limbe. He succeeded his uncle, His Royal Majesty Ferguson Bila Manga Williams, who transitioned to the land of our ancestors on July 9, 2005. His Majesty, before we get into our conversation, I would like to make sure that I did not miss or misrepresent something in my introduction.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Thank you. Welcome to the Spotlight, a weekly program on media to Africa and our global audience. It is almost 2 years today from the date of your coronation as the paramount ruler of Limbe. If I may ask, how is the chiefdom of Limbe and its people doing since your coronation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabayang, and thank you for inviting me over. It's a pleasure. It's a great delight for me to be present here in your studios with the great coverage that you have all over the world. The chiefdom of Limbe, the first-class chiefdom of Limbe, I must say, is doing great. Despite the challenges that you normally face as a people, as a leader, as an institution, but I think we are seeing ourselves through with the challenges that we face, and with the support that we have from other stakeholders like the administration. So I wouldn't complain. I would say that we are doing fine.
Thank you. Limbe has a storied history from when it was founded in 1858 as Victoria by the missionaries. Could you educate our viewers and those listening to you now with a brief history of Victoria and how we ended up with the present name of Limbe?
Yes, thank you. As you rightly say, in 1858, the missionary Reverend Afrosika got the parcel of land that was formerly called Victoria. That land was given to him by my great-great-grandfather, King Bile of Bimbia. And so it's considered that the Victoria that we are talking about, or the Victoria town that we are talking about, was considered a chop farm, as they used to say, of the Bimbia people. And so that's why he established his missionary station. After having operated in Bimbia itself from 1844 by Joseph Merrick before and others. And the main purpose was to establish a mission area, which is the church. And so you can find the First Baptist Church, which is found opposite Bisek Bank. And construction work on that church started sometime in about that time and was completed in 1876. And so that was how Victoria, the town, was founded, and named after the Queen at that time, Queen Victoria of England. And gradually we saw it expanding. There was a government, not only the church now, there was a government, and there were laws, there was a court, and everything. And of course, it transitioned to the assets of the Baptist Church were, after the war, the First World War, were bought by the Basel Mission. And coming fast forward to 1982, when the government thought that they have to name all their towns, particularly Victoria, had a foreign name. with an indigenous name, and so we got to the name of Limbe. Limbe is the river that flows through the town into the sea. So that is how the name of Limbe came about, and that talks about the modern city that we are talking about. With present day, we have three subdivisions: Limbe 1 and 2 and 3. So that is the cat postal of Limbe, if I may attempt to say so.
So in essence, Limbe got its name from River Limbe that
Yes,
flows into the Atlantic Ocean.
that's correct.
Oh, okay, I think I would like to switch a little bit, going back to your coronation. You firmly asserted that Limbe is a land of opportunities, but that does not and will never give it the status of a no man's land. Limbe is owned by a group of people, people with a history, people with a past, and people with a future. His Majesty, what message were you trying to send with this statement?
I think it's a simple message without prejudice. As I said, there are three distinct tribes or groups. I don't want to call them clans that make up Limbe, present-day Limbe, or four, if you want to. You have the Isubus or the Isubus that are in Bimbia. We have 3 villages in Bimbia. We have the Wovias that also count 4 villages, and you have the other villages that speak Mokwe, like from Kie, Mokunda, right down to Mokundange. And then you have the Batoke, who are mostly the Mbomoko people. So when I say that, I'm referring to these villages that make up Limbe, that are found in Limbe, or the original villages or indigenous villages of Limbe. And, you know, the tendency had been that because the opportunities are there, because the people are peace-loving, they are hospitable, they accept everybody, the tendency had been that the people of Limbe are weak. They are nowhere to be found. They can't do things on their own except people come. But that is not true. From time immemorial, you know, a lot of, before independence, a lot of Nigerians, Ghanaians, and all that, they felt very free in Victoria in those days. And they were part of the community, but they respected the indigents. And so with modern times, when people come and disrespect the people who own the place, you know, it was just a warning sign or a reminder to say that, no, Limbe is owned by people. It is not an empty land. You didn't come and meet an empty land. No, it is owned by people. And most times you have to take to the dictates of these people. You have to respect them. You have to respect their opinions and all that. So it was more of a reminder that our people are there, had been there, and they will continue to run the affairs of that place, notwithstanding the acceptance of every other person coming from without. You know, we don't consider tribe, we don't consider where you're coming, your origin. There are lots of Yoruba people there who have been there for 80 years, Beninois, Ghanaians, and all that. They are living their lives. Sierra Leoneans and all that. So once you tend to disrespect the people who own the place, that's where there's a little bit of problem.
I think, given the challenges that Limbe is practically a cosmopolitan city, and I think that also factors into the challenges people feel identifying Limbe with some traditional institution. I know that my people from Bisoban, the Ebais, the Abunos, the Tambes, have made Limbe their home for centuries. But how do you cope with these challenges of actually guiding and leading a much more heterogeneous community that maybe has transcended just the limitations of it being a community, an indigenous traditional setup?
Well, in as much as you have just said that it's a cosmopolitan city or setting, and let me just point this out to you. You've mentioned some names. I went to school with Tabi Ebai, and the issue of where you're coming from never arose. We're just friends, we're classmates, we go to each other's house. We never considered whether this person, we never knew whether somebody was Bisoma or where Bisoma was or is. Let me come back to the present state of affairs. Before I traveled out last month or last 2 months, we recently installed as a senior notable Mr. Ayoki Oksami Pride. That's to tell you that we don't discriminate as to where you come from. So long as you have been in that town or in that setting for a very long time and you have impacted that community positively, we have a duty to acknowledge you. And if we have 4 or 5 senior notables, he's one of those who originally do not come from there. And then the second person is Hopsona Ibae, but who has shown a lot of interest in the development of that city. So we don't have any reason. I don't care about the criticisms, but we don't have any reason not to acknowledge such a person because they act more than the people that you say are indigents of that place. Secondly, if you come into my chiefdom, you find a good number of persons who are originally not from Limbe or from Fako, but who are quarterheads. Because we see something in them, that aspect of leadership, that aspect of acceptance by the community which they head, and so we give them that responsibility. It is all about development of the chiefdom. And so we go in for the best. It must not be that because this person is a Bakureman, so he must be the quarterhead. No, absolutely not. We don't work like that. And so far we have been succeeding, especially with those who don't come from our tribes. And we think that we don't have any apologies to extend to any person, because what we want at the end of the day is positive results that will benefit everybody who has.
One way or the other impacted the city.
Is the city, yes.
So essentially, Limbe and the chiefdom is an inclusive community.
Absolutely.
That values the input of both the indigenous population and people who have come in there to either improve on their livelihood, have made Limbe their second home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think your message to the general public is Limbe is welcoming, but people must adhere to the norms and traditions.
Sure.
Of the people of
Sure.
community.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then at your coronation again, you appeal for support of all and sundry to help you achieve your vision for the Limbe chiefdom and the city by extension, which you mentioned include, among other things, the construction of a befitting cultural museum, the construction of a multi-purpose cultural center, and to ensure proper respect of traditional rules and the institutions they incarnate. It may seem overtly ambitious to assume or think this groundbreaking vision could be achieved in a span of 2 years. But would you mind letting us know if there is progress that has been made or there is progress on the way to realizing these great visions?
Yes, I think we are very positive about that. There's a lot of progress. For 15 years, there was a vacancy. 15 years, not 17. There was a vacancy at the helm of the chiefdom after the passing on of my uncle, Chief Bile HRM Manga Williams. And we could see that there was a big lapse in, or a gap in what we call the culture, or sustaining the culture or the traditions of our place. And I used to reflect back on when my grandfather, the late Chief John Manga Williams, was there as a chief, what he usually do, what he would do every year, the canoe racing, the sponsorship of traditional wrestling and all that. And so the first thing that I did was to revive, in a bid to revive the culture, was to start with the cultural festival. We had the second edition in February, which was also a great success, involving all the villages of the chiefdom of the city. The canoe racing. We also sponsored the wrestling competition last year. And that's as far as reviving the culture is concerned, creating an awareness. We took upon ourselves to inculcate in the younger ones the pride of being people, wherever they come from, whether it's the Wovias or the Isubu or the Bimbias or the Mokwe, the Bakweres. And so we organizing holiday classes every year, free holiday classes, in which we teach the vernacular. For this year, we are starting on the 16th of July in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from now. And we don't end at that. We also do teach them the basics, computer studies and other skills, baking, music, creating, using their hands to create things that I will see, and they are very common to do that. So that is what we are trying to do to educate our children. And it's been a very successful program. The unfortunate thing is that the sponsorship is not there. So we raise our funds by ourselves. We have to go to the quarter heads, we have to go to the notables, we have to go to the person, the executive of the chiefdom, and it's a little bit overburdening at times. But we are striving and we are succeeding. I think we are really succeeding. There is an average of 250 children every year. I don't know how much it will grow this year, but that's what we are trying to do. Secondly, we've had several visits, and the people are asking, can I see what makes the history of Limbe? Can you tell the history of Victoria or Limbe with artifacts, with things that, we significant, yes, exactly.
History of the place.
Well, and they are not there. I've been trying to gather a few, but the other problem is, where do we keep them? We don't have a museum. We don't have anywhere that can accommodate these items, these treasured items. And so we saw a need for us to have as I said, Limbe is a first-class chiefdom. And we have a lot of visits from diplomatic personalities and others who are coming from different countries. And they are excited to know about the history, and they are excited to know what shows us that this place had existed for close to 300, 400 years and all that. And so that's our challenge. We have applied to the Minister of Land Tenure, and I think we're working on that, because we cannot achieve all this when there's no land. It's difficult. Limbe is so saturated now that you will not find any place to carry out such a project. We need a lot of space. Secondly, where do we meet as a group? Where do we meet as a chiefdom if we have a big event that we are welcoming, let's say, 1,000 people? We don't have a hall. We don't have a big area that accommodates, whether open air or in a building. And so those are some of the things we have come out with plans, with drawings, architectural drawings on what we want to do. They are ready, but where do we implant them? That is a problem. So we believe that with the cooperation of the administration, we are definitely going to succeed on that and make sure that we provide these amenities. As we said, 2 years is already gone by. We're starting with the smaller things. But by the grace of God, if He gives us life, we are going to continue with the bigger projects.
Thank you. And Now I am going to pivot to your maiden visit here in the US. I think based on some of the challenges that you have encountered so far, there is a realization that the diaspora has a very pivotal role to play in making sure that your aspirations and the visions that the leadership that you're providing to the chiefdom is achieved. So I understand that this is your first ever visit to the United States, and you are accompanied by your beautiful wife, Gwendoline Manga Williams. You have crisscrossed the country within a few short weeks of your visit. His Majesty, not to naively try to compare this country with Cameroon, but what is your assessment of the people, the infrastructure, and everything that makes this country what it is?
Well, thank you very much. It should be everybody's dream to live in such a sophisticated society with everything that I've seen. It's so exciting. But it is equally, I believe, the dream of most people to honor fatherland and stay and bring back or take back to fatherland what you have seen out there. And so, why it's so exciting, what the level of development over here I've been to several countries before, mostly in Europe, so it's not strange. And I think it's for us to try as much as possible to upgrade to the level that we've seen here. It's going to be difficult because of the mentality of our people. It's going to be very difficult because the means are not also there. But I think that if the will is there, we can get to a level that is acceptable. Let me tell you, I attended the convention of Victoria USA Incorporated in Atlanta. And together we recall the glorious days of Victoria. Victoria was just perfect. Victoria was so clean. Victoria, the streets were well defined. You will not find high fences as we find them now. You find low hedges, low fences as we find them here. It means that there was security. It means that there was acceptance of every person. You could visit your neighbor quietly. You could do your things without any problem. I recall to them that, do they remember that in the 70s, Press Book had a self-service machine with everything in it. You go, most times when we play table tennis and your ball gets broken or you need a bat, you just go slot in your 100 francs and you press and the machine and the ball comes out. So that is the level that we are attained, in the 70s. In the 80s, we had public telephone booths along the streets. We had good street lights. Those are things that we don't find now again. The telephone booths became public toilets. So it is very challenging. I think it's the mentality of the people, and we need a lot of it. We did not have refuse spread all over the streets and all that. You kept your refuse in the house, and the council tractor will come around, pom, 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 and you come out with your refuse. You have their days and all that. So there's too much disorder. I just pray we get back to that stage where that we honored the town, we honored ourselves, we kept ourselves healthy and all that. It's so disgusting when we see what is happening now just because of the attitudes of people. And so it will take a lot, but I think that we can get there. Gradually, like the people of Atlanta, the Victoria USA, they are trying to do a campaign to make sure that the quarters are clean, sensitize the people on how to dispose of their refuse and all that. So gradually we'll get to that point. And the diaspora, of course, has a major role to play. I told them and I requested that everything that they have seen here, let them export it over there. And they are doing their best to see that the town or the country from which they hail should also be in a state of acceptance so that they can comfortably bring in their visitors, their friends from other places to appreciate. It's just like you are living in a mansion over here, and you want to go back home, you go and enter a plank house and all that. It doesn't really make sense. You have to export the beautiful things that you see here over there.
Okay. So I pick up something when you mentioned your visit to Atlanta,
Yeah.
Victoria USA Convention. Is it that there are people who still feel nostalgic about the name Victoria? That even in this day and age, the convenient here, is it by design? Is it that they still feel that we belong in this beautiful city that you have so finally presented the looking back during those days, seeing the discipline, the cleanliness of the place, the structure, the organization. Our people still feeling nostalgic about Victoria.
Yes, I think so many people have a lot of nostalgia about Victoria. Victoria represents a culture. Victoria represents about 2 or 3 generations. Victoria represents prosperity. Victoria represents love. They are not trying to disrespect the article that changed the name from Victoria to Limbe. But we are talking about a generational thing, something that people experience, the beautiful things that people experience. And now in the case of Limbe, we want to bring back what we experience as youths, as children, as adults of Victoria to present day Limbe. So that we can, houses were numbered, just as you find them here. Now you want to direct somebody, you tell him, go to that mango tree. After that, you bend right and bend left, and you see somebody selling palm wine. And, it's... No, honestly, but that is the truth about it. So what does it take to number houses? The streets are well carved out. So it is going to be very easy for us to do house numbering. I know that we started something like this. We have this organization in Limbe called Victoria Development Forum. And we started with the former city mayor, late Mr. Mutanga. We actually started with Mr. Lifanda, and he allowed us to form the council created a committee which didn't go far. And we started with Mr. Mutanga. He said, that's a beautiful idea. So I think it would take the indigenous and people who are knowledgeable about the town to come out with that task so that streets are named and numbered. But that is the responsibility of the city council.
And that is exactly I wanted to, not to interrupt you, really trying to delineate whose responsibility is that. Is that the city council? Is it the government at the divisional level, at the provincial level, or the central government here only? Because when we get confronted with this whole conundrum here in the diaspora that in this day and age, you don't have addresses in Cameroon.
Yeah.
It is baffling for you to actually try to even muster some kind of response.
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it to make sure that these streets are numbered and the houses
are counted? I think the immediate responsibility falls on the city council. It is their immediate responsibility. To a wider extent, to a larger extent, you might talk about the Ministry of Urban Development or decentralization or whatever. But if it comes to implementation, it's supposed to be the city council. But what I'm saying is that the city council cannot do it all by themselves. They need the people, they need the traditional authority, they need the senior citizens of that town who can tell. If you want to give a name to a street, for example, you must give a name. If you're honoring somebody who has played an important role in the development of that city, or something that a historic event, Presently, for example, we have the Afreseka Monument. That monument shows that this town was founded by this person, and it's conspicuously displayed at the SDO's office. And you have some avenues, like for example, where we have the grandstand, which is called Manga Williams Avenue. It used to be called Black Watch Avenue. But because there is a need to acknowledge persons who had played an important role, they had to honor my grandfather, who was the first paramount chief of Limbe. They have names of other personalities. Like we have Car Street, you have Monjimbo, and all that, and all that, and all that. So that is why we're trying to work on the association, as I told you. And they are working on that, and I think very soon they'll approach the city council to make sure that that is done. We are in modern times. We cannot afford to be describing houses or areas or streets. When I call the street Makangai Street, people are wondering, where is it found? You know, people are so, they don't know where places are, how to identify places. It's so strange. The road from my one hospital down to the roundabout is called Nambeke Avenue. I doubt whether one up to 200 people know, except those who are pure born Victoria people. So those are some of the things that we want to make people understand.
To keep in that same direction, what has been lacking? Is it the lack of leadership?
I think that
resources?
no, it's not resources. I think that they don't see it as a priority. The persons concerned don't really see it as a priority, especially with the coming into play of how do we call it, mobile phones. You can just direct somebody, meet me at Community Field or meet me at this bank. But interestingly, there are people who don't even know Community Field or the GO's office. Those are places that you must know if you are a resident of Limbe. And with the influx of all these taxi drivers who are coming from different places that are crisis hit, and Benz-again drivers or motor taxis, it's worse. You have a distance of, let's say, 1 kilometer, and you tell the driver, take me to Bisek Bank. Let's say you are at the stadium, take me to Bisek Bank. The driver doesn't know. You say, when you get there, you show me. How can you be directing? You should be the one to direct somebody who is supposed to know. Because before, you know, taxi drivers, you must, before you become a taxi driver, you must have an attestation or a document to show that you are well knowledgeable about the town that you are operating in. It doesn't apply like that anymore. You know, so it's a problem.
Okay. Moving on, I think looking at your busy schedule, you have attended multiple community events in multiple states across the U.S. I think you were in Tampa, Florida, you were in Phoenix, Arizona. I think you also mentioned the Victoria USA Convention in Atlanta. And I think there was a huge welcome here in the DMV area by people from that chiefdom. What exactly is your mission to the US, and what has been the reception and expectation of, firstly, your people back home, and secondly, the different communities that you have visited and individuals that you have engaged during this mission? You have organizations here like Invest in Limbe. Looking at your itinerary, a lot of the meetings have been with the indigenous people in that community. But as we pointed out earlier during the conversation, Limbe is a cosmopolitan city. You have people from different communities that are actually coming in, being encouraged to invest in that community. How do you go about engaging with these different segments of this chiefdom to continue driving in investment into the Limbe chiefdom?
Well, to begin with, unfortunately, let me make this correction. I didn't attend the convention at Arizona for Fakwa America because they were holding on the same date with BEGDA, that's Bakuri Elements Cultural and Development Association. Originally, I had two invitations from the BEGDA and the Victoria America Incorporated. So I attended Victoria Incorporated on the that held the 22nd, I think so, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, or something like that, the weekend before Begda, which held on the 28th and 29th. So those are the two official events that I attended, for which I was invited. And interestingly, you know, I had, we came in on the 12th, and we were shocked. I should say so. My wife and I were really shocked with the reception that we had at the airport. We weren't expecting that. There was a lot of mobilization. We were very, very surprised, and we want to appreciate all those who took their time off to come and welcome us at the airport. And on Saturday, that same week, we had a wonderful reception by the Faku community at Bui, and it was so exciting. I wasn't expecting that. That was another big surprise because everybody was there, and other invited personalities from both the city and the district. We even had a citation. I can't really remember, but we had a document that appreciated us, and so far it's been so exciting and so good. I wasn't expecting this to happen. Normally I'm a very reserved person. I try to keep my, but it's not been possible. And the exchanges that we've had with the various persons who organize these conventions have been very enriching. You know, like the Victoria. Let me start with the Victoria USA Incorporated. They have already been doing a lot of things over there back home, and they are ready to do more. They are so enthusiastic about doing things to alleviate the situation of the residents of Limbe, irrespective of where your origin, where you come from, so long as you're a resident, especially in the domain of health and hygiene and sanitation, because they have a project to clean up the quarters. We also had an exchange, a beautiful one, during the cultural night of the Beg Dam, and I gave them my vision. I gave them what we had planned, what we are doing, what we have done, and what we think we should do. And the whole thing evolves around the aspect of development, the aspect of upholding our culture, upholding our pride as a people. And I remember I told them that this can only be done if our youths are economically empowered. You cannot be talking to somebody about upholding his culture, upholding his pride when he's down there, he doesn't have anything to do, hungry. So all the beautiful things that they have here, if they can bring them back there, empower, give scholarships to the youth. There are a lot of institutions presently in Limbe and Boya that can train the young people. There is the vocational training center in Moliwe that trains in all technical aspects. And the fees used to be 500,000 francs. And when we went and visited that place, the director himself complained, and he said, if people can write, and we wrote, I'm sure it's the effect of the letter, the fees was brought down from 500,000 to 50,000 francs, which makes it very affordable. So we want our children to patronize these institutions, get the skills. The certificates are are recognized worldwide and all that. You know, but unfortunately, even when I offered scholarships, about 20 scholarships, we did not get the people to get into this institution to practice, whether it's welding, plumbing, electricity, catering, and all that, computer, and all that. So it is a challenge. On our own part, we are the final stage of creating a vocational training center, that's a chiefdom, to do short-term training for free. We already have an agreement with one of the mission schools to use their old classrooms. And we are waiting for the authorization from the Ministry of Vocational Training so that whatever diplomas we give should be recognized. Yeah. And as I said earlier, it's going to be free. But when you think of training these children for free, we have to pay the facilitators, we have to pay the infrastructure or utility bills and all that. So it means that goodwill persons have to come on board to sponsor, because most of them we are talking about are those IDPs and those who cannot afford. You know, so that is our dilemma, but we think that we are pulling on, and we think that we will succeed.
So what is your appeal to the vibrant diaspora out here, not only limited to the different community associations that you had exchanges with them? I think I also learned that you had meetings with the U.S. doing this, and we hope that you can come in and help. We need the enabling environment for you to encourage this vibrant diaspora to come in and support. What's your appeal to the diaspora, particularly those from your chiefdom?
Yes, fortunately, I have a number of notables who are presently here based in the U.S. and most times they communicate our activities or our needs to the rest of the FACU community. You know, I will not attempt to say that the diasporans have a lot. But I appreciate that the fact that they sacrifice a lot to make sure that their peers or the people down over there in the country have some the basic needs. You know, so I appreciate them because I've seen that it's just work, yeah. So it's a lot of sacrifice that they are doing, but. So long as they are living a better life, they are obliged to assist those who, yeah. And so that is the appeal that I want to make to them so that they can see what they can do to alleviate the situation over there. I don't want to call it the poverty situation, you know. Poverty is a curse. It's not a word that we have to.
His Majesty, it is what it is. Sometimes it's a very challenging situation on the ground, given the challenging economic situation in the country. Yeah. I mean, across the region, most of the countries are going through these economic challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is incumbent upon those who have some semblance of stability within the diaspora to really give a helping hand back home. Yeah. And now moving on, just like in other communities, there are always dissenting voices in every community.
That's right.
Just like in your coronation, I'm looking at the feeble attempt of opposition of your appointment by Chief Kingsley Luwoto of Folofo village. The community here is also divided into multiple organizations with similar objectives representing the same community. You just pointed out FACO America, Begda, Victoria. I'm looking as a father and custodian of our traditional norms. What efforts have you deployed to begin to heal and reconcile this community so that you're speaking as one people, you're speaking with the same vision, you are rallying those support at very challenging times instead of people dealing with multiple organizations, because it becomes very exhausting for also the people here who are willing to assist. When you have multiple organizations asking you for support for the same things within the same community. So are there any efforts that you've looked at into talking to some of these community members, some of the notables here in the diaspora, the successful ones, those who are still struggling, to see that there is some a conference of the minds for people to begin to see that we are more stronger as a united body than a body working in different factions?
Yes, thank you very much for that wonderful question. You see, before I came here this year, I had an invite last year, I think, or the year before, from Victoria, FACO America, we call it. They mentioned it, and I told them, well, jokingly though, that I had a phobia for flying. You know, even though I've been flying to several European countries, but I thought that I was not really ready to come over. So I didn't want to continue missing this, but this is the second invitation from Begda. And what I preached to them was that there is absolute need for them to be united. United in purpose, united in activity, in actions that they take and all that. But there's one thing that you can't take from a man. When he disagrees, Yeah, so you allow him. But if the end result is that they want to see that the culture or the Fakuman is raised or the people of Cameroon are raised, then I don't see a problem. It's just that the aspect of enmity should not exist amongst them because they are brothers. They should come and assist one another. It's just like we have multiple parties, political parties in Cameroon. If the purpose is for them to see that the country moves ahead or forward, then fine. But I will just be, we're a small group. So I'll still continue to play for unity and accommodation, to accommodate each other, their opinions and their thoughts and their actions, so that we don't have those divisive tendencies, especially when they are out here in a different, strange land, which is not theirs. So they have been doing a pretty good job assist or supporting activities back home. And we want to thank them very much. And I also want to use this platform to thank the people of the diaspora for the support that they gave me during the coronation. It was really huge. Within a short time, interestingly, the decision came out in March, and we had the coronation in June. We had barely 2-3 months to prepare, and if I tell you the amount that we received was astronomical. We want to thank them very much for the mobilization and for the support, and not to talk of the attendance. The attendance was massive, especially from here. Those are things that are once in a lifetime thing. 50 years ago, nobody even thought about coronation and all that. So it's a new dimension that we are taking, and we believe that by the grace of God we'll succeed.
Thank you. So basically, given the present challenges, your appeal would be we should always seek for collaboration.
Absolutely.
It is imperative that we look at avenues or overtures for us to collaborate for the betterment and advancement of our community.
Sure.
So would you rate your first visit here as successful, and if so, why? Should the people back home be expecting that the paramount ruler is in the land of milk and honey, and certainly he will be coming back with a lot of goodies?
Yes, my visit or our visit has been highly successful. I thought it was going to be kind of a holiday, but it's not been a holiday. It's been more of a walking visit, and I'm very satisfied with the exchanges, very satisfied with the promises that our people here have made. I've already had calls from back home, bring us the good things. I don't know what the good things are. I don't know. In terms of physical things or goods or gifts, I don't know whether that's what they are waiting for. But I think the good news is that our people here in the diaspora are ready to accompany us in all our projects. Yeah, so that is the good news, and we think that I hope that if I divulge this news to them, they are going to be satisfied, because we're not thinking of the things that will be here today and not there tomorrow. We are thinking of the things that will be permanent and people can see. It's the wish of everybody to leave a legacy, and that's the legacy that I want to leave, accompanied by my peers over here.
And I think that is very important that you highlighted that what you look to create the success of this whole mission is the commitment of the diaspora to work in step, in lockstep with you.
That's right.
Through your guiding leadership to bring development to those communities. I think that is very key information.
That's correct.
It really does not need to be the physical things that you may carry along.
Yeah,
actually,
sure.
You'll be having the biggest military plane over here to carry my stuff.
That's right. To Cameroon, and it will still not be sufficient for everybody.
Still not be sufficient. So I think the most important thing is the commitment that you have tried and gotten from the communities that you have visited,
That's right.
engaged with, to really get involved in providing the needed support into these communities. So moving on back to a little bit of, I know you're not quote-unquote politician, as you say, you're reserved, but over 5,000 people, including some top government members of the government of Cameroon, attended senior government officials led by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, others like Professor Naluba Dionga, Minister of Secondary Education, Taba Mala, Minister of Public Contracts, and Paul Tasson, Minister Delegate in the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development. I also understand that you were former YCPDM Section President of the Den Fako 1 Section, Councillor of the Den Limbe 1 Council, and Limbe 1 Council. His Majesty, it appears looking at the powerful government delegation at your coronation. You are deeply connected within government circles and the power brokers in Cameroon. How have you and will you leverage this deep connection to bring about development in your chiefdom?
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, the presence of these high personalities, I should say, is a booster, and it's what is not forgetting the crowd, the other personalities that were present, political, religious, traditional, and administrative authorities that were present. When I look at that scenario, I said, if these people came over there, it was, for one thing, not only to witness a ceremony, but to give me that encouragement, like to give me a push and say, you have to succeed in your mission. And so that's the way I see it. And it's a challenge for me. Every time I sleep, I said, if I fail, it means that I will be disappointing everybody who attended that coronation. And so it's incumbent on me to carry out the task which are endowed to a traditional authority. I would like to say that a traditional authority is not limited to presiding over cultural or traditional events. We are in a situation where the development of that community rests solely on the shoulders of a traditional authority. If you go back to the old days when there were no DOs, there were no mayors, it is the traditional authority, the chief who managed the community without reserve. And so in our own little way, we try to do things in as much as we serve as auxiliaries as the government administration, we want to say, because we have a role to play. We control, the population is under us. Whether they like it or not, they are under us, under our, all the quotas that are found in my jurisdiction are under me. I appoint the quota heads and all that. So there comes a time where we need to accept that the different responsibilities merge, we come together and build a prosperous community. And that is why we, on our own, we have been trying to provide basic necessities to the communities. We have done a lot of boreholes, and we are intending to do more. We have an organization here, VIDA, that is trying to support us in providing a borehole machine. And we appreciate them. They are very close to that. Even other villages, like, for example, Kia village, they wrote to me that, oh, you have been supplying borehole water. Can you come over to our village? You see that the people need it. Unfortunately, the resources are not there. So as soon as we have those resources, we don't have limitations. We go everywhere. We have been providing school decks to various schools, especially government schools, because we went around and we saw children sitting on blocks on the floor. We have been providing didactic materials to children for back to school. A lot of these things, especially with the support of some, most times we apply, Sonara will assist us, sample paper and all that. So when our role is to identify where there are needs, because left to the administration, they might not know that there's a need here or there's a need there. We also managed to do our community roads, lighting and all that. So we have a lot to play, and I'm trying my best together with my notables and the council of the traditional council, to see that we can provide, it's a community effort. And that's what took me into politics. You mentioned that I was section president for ICPDM. By then, Fakuwan had 27 substations. That is from Sanje, now, down to up to my Fobona de Combo, and down to Bimbia. So it was so vast, and it was very effective. We could manage that together with the late city mayor, Mr. Mutanga. He was the section president, and the late Rachel Lyonga. So those are some of the things that create a challenge in me. And I don't like to fail when it comes to these achievements, because I've lived the life of a low-level person. So I understand what the low person will always feel. Yes, so I always try to get there.
I think going back to I think you mentioned Sonora and even the difficulties in the life of the poor. One of the issue that has been unexplained and the unfulfilled promises of the construction of the Limbe Deep Seaport that could alleviate the endemic unemployment within the chiefdom. And the invading of Sonora by people who have considered the chiefdom as a no man's land where they could plunder the resources without any benefits accruing to this community. You are now in a position, together with other custodians, other chiefs in the region and in the chiefdom, to have a say and an understanding of what is happening to the vexing issue of the Limbe Deep Seaport and the involvement of indigenes of the region in Sonora. And new elections are around the corner, and the sing-song of they are going to know or to construct the seaport this time around would be peddled to our suspecting communities. Would you honestly face our people and tell them what and why the Limbe Deep Seaport has been disregarded, and their social input is not considered when decisions are made concerning the extraction of their natural resources?
Okay, let me start with the deep seaport. I would not subscribe to the fact that the deep seaport is not coming forth. I think every good thing to be acquired or to be achieved should exercise a high level of patience. I want to start by saying that we have had several assurances. We are not in top government positions. We don't know what government policy is or what the actions are. But what I know for sure is that last year there was a commission created by the Minister of Land Tenure to carry out the delimitations of the area that's going to be covered by the seaport. And I was a member of that commission. And we worked for more than 6 months. And that report was sent to Yaoundé. Even as I came over here, that commission was summoned again. I think there were some last-minute things that they had to do. Unfortunately, I was not present, so I cannot give you the details. But I think that once there has been an appointment of the director delegate to head the seaport and his assistant, which we attended, and they were installed, and there has been this commission to identify the area that the seaport is going to occupy. The next stage is for them to have their land certificate, because you cannot carry out infrastructural development for such a project without proper planning and with documents to show that you own this place and all that. And as I said again, before I left, I think the Port Authority is trying to carry out a big structure, social and health facility there.
His Majesty,
yeah.
Are you saying that for the past 60 years and this litany of promises, all of this was never done, that they are only trying to do that now?
No. In the prosperous years of Victoria, there was a port. There was a seaport called Botawaf. Actually, we had dockyard, where big boats used to land, and there was a custom post there. We had the main port at Bota, and that is why we had Port Authority. Port Authority had been there for over 50 years, and so it's not about today. And the activities at the port got closed, I think sometime in 1990, or, when they stopped, the big ships stopped coming around 1980 or in the late 70s or so. But there has been a lot of activity. We had these other ships coming from Malabo, Nigeria, and all that. So there's still activity. There are activities there, but we're talking about a modern port to accommodate facilities.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I think we are getting. Thank you for really giving me the time, but I would like to wrap it up. But before I do, I think it is undeniable and generally accepted that peace is a requisite for development. We can give you a standing ovation or bow down for your vision in the chiefdom, but it would also be irresponsible and naive to continue to live in denial that we can make meaningful development progress in the midst of an ongoing crisis, or some people would like to call it a war. I'm not asking you to take a stand, but I also know that it is irresponsible for morally upright men, particularly custodians of our culture, to sit quietly while their communities burn and are ravaged by crisis. As the people closest to the pain and suffering of our people, like you said, you deal on a day-to-day basis with the pain and suffering of these communities. The government can make all of these policies, but the people who see the challenges, the pain and suffering are you, or the custodians, who also understand all these communities very well. The chiefs have not or are yet to sue for peace to return to the region. I may be wrong, but I don't think even the government of Cameroon has forbidden the chiefs, when I mean the chiefs of the region, both the northwest and southwest regions, from calling for a genuine dialogue to mediate in the crisis. The church as an institution have tried and failed multiple times. Even if some may decry the half-baked measures, it is still commendable that the church is trying and has tried. His Majesty, as a member of the Chiefs Conference, a recent member, what measures have the chiefs taken to engage both sides of this crisis? Are there ongoing backdoor efforts on both sides to engage in some negotiations?
Okay, thank you very much. It is true that the chiefs have a very important role to play, because whoever are involved in this crisis somehow fall under a chiefdom. And if you want to call the chiefs the father of the land, or the custodians of it. But now there is a problem. The government tells the chiefs, these are your children. Now, from what you can see, you realize that the so-called Ambazonians, or those who are agitating, do not even honor their chiefs anymore. They desecrate the palaces, they beat up their chiefs, they kill the chiefs. And so it's a situation where I would have said that it's gone out of hand. But luckily, what we are realizing now is that this is no more an agitation for a change in the status quo, where they believe that some persons are poorly treated. It has become a criminal activity now being carried out by certain people, killing people for kidnapping people for ransom, and for no reason, because you drive a yellow taxi and they say, no, you must pay. It's senseless now. It is really senseless. So when you look at those who called for these actions, retracting and coming back and say the struggle has taken a different dimension, not what they meant it to be, there is absolute need now for us to sit on the table. The government had extended an olive branch. They have created these DDR centers. They have made several efforts. Several efforts have been made after the conference to bring together all opinions, shades of opinion. Yeah. Several things have been being implemented gradually. I think it's, for me, in my opinion, is to have this annual um, evaluation regularly. It should not be annual. It should be like every quarterly, to see a different. I don't know what is actually on the ground now, and to to implement the aspect of reconstruction. A lot of chiefs cannot go back to their villages because it's still unsafe, and we realize that there's a lot of complicity, especially when it concerns. I must confess, some people who are in high places in government too, to that tends to encourage some of these boys. That is what we will not agree on. I might not say for others, but Limbe is relatively very calm. But we cannot minimize or undermine the fact that there's some danger looming somewhere. So we are being very, very vigilant. And that's why the administration also advised us to create vigilante groups in our various quarters, which we have done. And so it's minimizing the effect of, you see somebody who is strange to you, somebody who is not of that quarter and all that.
His Majesty, I think that looks a little bit dangerous. The government still has absolute sovereignty and control over its territory. And to encourage communities to begin to create vigilantes is begin like pitting those communities against themselves. If they're going to address this problem, they have to address the root cause of the problem. If we get to the point where we look at the criminals now that seem to do a lot of exactions from their own communities, then we fail to understand that the government created the vacuum by arresting the rational and reasonable leaders of the revolution and kept them in jail. And now they go around saying, okay, we don't have people to engage with. What I wanted to know is what efforts the church, for those who are part of the struggle, have engaged in efforts for dialogue. What is the role of the chiefs in saying to the government, yes, these children are our children, but we strongly believe that we have to engage them in a genuine dialogue to get to the root cause of this problem. We cannot just provide these shallow, temporal solutions. It's like taking a band-aid and putting it on top of a wound. So I think that as a voice, I'm not putting you on the spot. It is a call, a clarion call to the people who live this situation. The city centers might be calm, but if you move a few miles away from the city center, life is almost unbearable.
Yeah.
So the appeal that, from the conversations that I have with people from your own community, is what is the role of our custodians. They should stand together in unison and talk to the government to engage in dialogue in looking for ways to resolve this problem.
Well, I agree with you, but you agree equally with me that government policy most times is not divulged, it's not always made public. Otherwise, you find yourself in a situation where you will not be able to accommodate the effect, especially if they are negative. And that is why at the lower level where you find the chiefs, I talked about the vigilante groups. Now, the vigilante groups is not only now, when I was growing up as a young man, we created vigilante groups in all the quarters. If you want to enter, let's say, Newtown, for example, you find those boys who are there to ward off any criminal activity and to keep the quarters safe. So it's not strange, it's not new, it's not because of this.
No, but it's different now because you did that without somebody telling you to do that.
No, it's even before the crisis, we had been doing it. It's just that there's a need now to carry to a higher level, to step up. There are some quarters in Limbe, let me say Mabeta Road layout, the outskirts, which are closer to the bush, and so there's an easy penetration of these people down there and commit atrocities. So we don't know what are they fighting for? Are they thieves? Are they ordinary? Because what are they fighting for? So That is the way we are looking at. We are not seeing them as people who are fighting for a cause. If it's for the cause, then march to Yaoundé and tell the authorities that we are fighting for a cause, not killing and raping and stealing from innocent people.
Thank you, His Majesty. As a flag bearer of the people and the custodian of our cultural norms, the house cannot burn when brave men are seated and do nothing. Our communities are in distress and the suffering is unbearable. It is you and people of your own caliber to consider playing a role in making sure that this crisis is brought to an end. We want to wish you the best of luck as you continue to guide and lead your people. Good luck in your mission here in the US. But before I let you go, would you look into the camera for a final word to our audience and to your people? For those who may want to reach out to you to assist in the humanitarian efforts that you are carrying out as far as the IDPs are concerned, I don't know if there are contacts here in the US or people who may how to contact you directly. Please, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabayang. Thank you and your team for this wonderful invitation to share with you our challenges, our visions, and all that. Yes, we have an appeal to make. If I came over here, I really came to update our subjects, our FACO friends, our fellow brothers from Cameroon and sisters, what the situation actually is, especially in my chiefdom and in our division and in our country. And so far, I think we've been having a very positive response. But that will not be enough. We think that with the proposals we have made, the picture we have painted of what we are planning to do, we want to urge them to support us bigly. And here I presently have 3 notables who are representing me. I'm sorry, 5 of them. We have a notable Nameke Martin, we have a notable Nana Bonley, we have a notable Ndivala Manga, we have a notable Martin Lifanda, and we have my Secretary General, notable Peter Martin. So I think if we can get across any of these personalities, it would be great for any update on the activities of the chiefdom and how to support them, especially on the issue of the boreholes and pushing forward our culture in the form of the museum and the cultural center that we are trying to construct. Thank you very much.
On that note, we want to once again thank you. This has been the Spotlight, and today we had His Royal Majesty John Efula Manga Williams. To all of you, our audience, and to FACO America, Beta America, Victoria USA Inc., and those who have made Limbe and its environments their home. This is an appeal from your leader for support in driving the vision and the development goals that he has set for that community. If you want to reach to him, I think you can reach through us, given that we have not secure his contacts here, but we can help or reach those individuals. I know most of you within the community already know how to get to him to assist him realize his vision. Once again, thank you and good day.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much. It's 2 hours.